Recording in three, two, and one.
It was the dark time, a time without light, without joy. And in 1996, we got the light back, and it was quickly snatched away, and I'm still mad about it.
All right, welcome to episode 134 of Nerdery Murdery.
Big 134, I'm Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your Murdery. Welcome to another week of the highs and lows and the ups and downs, the good and the bad. Have you watched Echo yet?
I have.
Echo was great.
Echo is awesome.
Really, really enjoyed that one a lot. I wasn't real familiar with the character hardly at all, except for what she was in Hawkeye. But that was really good, really well done.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I thought it was amazing. Some of the scenes where they're like in Cahokia and stuff like that. They're actually in Cahokia. It was
mhm,
awesome. It's
yeah.
like, oh well, yeah, that's what it looked like.
Also watched Reacher. That second season just finished, which is Reacher. If you haven't watched it, is phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a rumor out there that Alan Richson, I think his last name is. Anyway, there's a rumor that he may play the next DCU Batman.
Really?
Yep, yep. Which I think would be fabulous. He's great. I love him in Reacher.
Yeah.
I absolutely love him. God, he just kicks some ass.
Yes, yes. And he's funny.
Yeah, yeah, he is. I love that show. That's a great show. And then last night so we tried to watch Rebel Moon.
Hmm.
I fell asleep.
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was great.
I fell asleep. I was bored to tears.
Love that movie.
No, was bored to tears. So we ended up turning that off, and we watched Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
I liked that movie too.
That was good. That was a fitting send off for Indiana Jones.
Yes.
Very pleased with that. So much better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. God, that was terrible.
Oh, I didn't think the movie was terrible. There's
I
two
thought
things that piss me off about that movie.
I thought that one was terrible. Ugh. So I was really good that we had a final installment of that. I was really amazed at the front of the movie how well they did on the CGI de aging of
Yeah,
him. That was very good.
yeah,
Wild,
yeah. It was really, really good.
wild. So anyway, I know what you're getting into, so I'll let you take over on the nerdery side of the house.
Excellent. So, as I said in the stab, it was the dark time. So, let me take you back in the pod back machine. 1989, um, they broadcast the last episode of Doctor Who. We didn't find out about it over here, or at least in my neck of the woods, until about 1990. And I got no new Doctor Who. We had, the Stranger videos, which were being produced by ITV, which had a lot of the Doctor Who cast in it. It was cool, and they were releasing novels, and they started doing some of the audio drama stuff, and that was cool and great and awesome. And and in 1996, they released a movie because we started hearing rumblings about 1995. They released a movie which bridged the gap from the old Doctor Who to the new Doctor Who. And the idea was they were the BBC was partnering with Fox Television to bring Doctor Who back. They released a pilot movie. Um, Everybody in England watched it, and not enough people in America did. So Fox canceled it, and they were in a sort of a strange legal trouble. So we didn't get Doctor Who again until 2005. I'm going to talk about that period. I'm going to talk about the Eighth Doctor and the War Doctor because I feel like they kind of need to be put together. Even though the War Doctor was part of the new incarnation, in the timeline order of the Doctor, he comes right after the Eighth Doctor, and there's a short called "The Night of the Doctor," which I've included in our YouTube playlist, which you can actually see the both of them in there. But in 1996, I had been up like a day and a half. I think we'd gone out and then we'd worked a really serious hard shift. I want to say at the harbor, maybe the Harvey.
That sounds right.
Back
That was
when
probably the harbor.
Yeah, we were both working restaurants, and it was hardcore. And I got off, and I forgot that it was going to be on. I went over to Don's to watch it, and I promptly fell asleep. Don, in his infinite wisdom, Don, who's been on the show, guys, in his infinite wisdom, recorded it, and I woke up, went home, was sad, got up the next day, and went over to Don's. And Don popped it in the in the VCR, and we sat and watched it the next day. I thought it was really great. I loved Eric Roberts played the master. I thought it was great. They brought Sylvester McCoy back for the first part of it, and he regenerated into Paul McGann. Um, the movie itself was great. It was supposed to take place in San Francisco. Actually, it was filmed in Canada. Um, but even though it was 1996, it was set in 1999 or New Year's Eve 1999. Um, it's probably my favorite version of the TARDIS, because it's like a little English apartment in there, and it was lovely. I really enjoyed it. They explored the corridors of the TARDIS. Paul McGann was great as the Doctor. I liked um, the character of Grace. It was awesome, and then it promptly went away for another 9 years. So what we're talking about today is the Eighth Doctor. It's an incarnation of the Doctor, the protagonist of British science fiction television series Doctor who is portrayed by Paul McGann. The character was introduced in the 1996 TV film Doctor Who, a backdoor pilot production in an unsuccessful attempt to relaunch the series following its 1989 cancellation. While the Eighth Doctor initially had only one on-screen appearances, his adventures were portrayed extensively in subsequent spin-off media, including more than 70 audio dramas starring Paul McGann. So he has done 70 of those audio dramas. I would I would encourage you to go out and listen to them. They are wonderful. They're great for road trips. The voice acting is incredible. The sound effects are incredible. The music's good. It's just awesome. But in 2013, he reprised his role in the mini episode The Night of the Doctor, which I have included in our YouTube playlist, which depicts the Eighth Doctor's final adventure and his regeneration into the War Doctor, played by John Hurt. McGann subsequently reprised the role in a brief cameo alongside other past incarnations in The Power of the Doctor in 2022, his first filmed appearance for a television episode of Doctor Who. Within the series narrative, the Doctor is a centuries-old alien Time Lord from the planet Gallifrey who travels in time and space in the TARDIS, frequently with companions. And at the end of his life, or her life, the Doctor regenerates, and as a result, the physical appearance and personality of the Doctor changes. Preceded in regeneration by the Seventh Doctor, Sylvester McCoy, he is followed by the War Doctor and the Ninth Doctor, Christopher Eccleston. His only companion in the television film is Grace Holloway, played by Daphne Ashbrook, a Canadian actress, a medical doctor whose surgery is partly responsible for triggering his regeneration. In the continued adventure of the character depicted in audio dramas, novels, and comic books, he travels alongside numerous other companions, including self-styled Edwardian adventuress Charlie, the alien Destry, and present-day human Lucy and Sam. So having said all that, I cannot tell you how disappointed I was
Sure, you can. Go ahead. Tell us.
in 1996. I mean, I can't put it into words. I watched the movie again because I fell asleep at the beginning, but I went back and watched it the next day, and it was awesome. And Don and I talked about it. And for a long time, you could not get the Doctor Who movie because of the licensing with the BBC and Fox. It's still kind of hard to find. You have to buy it. It is in our YouTube playlist, the full movie. It is at the very end of our YouTube playlist because I was able to find it. It's a very good copy. It's not perfect, but I watched it on YouTube on the television the other day, and I thought it was decent. It was as good as anything else coming out of the mid '90s. They wanted to kind of Americanize the Doctor a little bit, so they brought in Daphne Ashbrook and Eric Roberts. Eric Roberts' portrayal of the Master is incredible, and I kind of wish they would bring him back to play it. I think he has reprised the role in some of the audio dramas. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's correct. But it was amazing. It was a good adventure story. The TARDIS was great. Um, Will Sasso's in it in sort of a backup incidental character role, and he's great because he steals Will Sasso's costume for a New Year's Eve party he was going to. So he kind of dresses like an old Wild West person because Will Sasso was going to dress up as a cowboy. He basically dressed as a Victorian Western guy.
Hey,
Um,
real quick, sorry, going back. Has every iteration of Doctor Who had a run-in with the Master?
no,
Oh, okay.
no, the first two didn't.
Okay.
The Master doesn't come along until John Pertwee.
Okay.
But since John Pertwee, yes, he's had a run in with the Master with every iteration. I think that's right.
You're the expert.
Wait, did Eccleston? No, Eccleston didn't meet up with him.
Yeah, I
David
don't remember
Tennant
that
did.
from Eccleston.
Yeah, David Tennant did. So yeah,
Yes.
no, everyone except for Chris Eccleston.
Okay.
Chris Eccleston, who was really unhappy with the production and only did one season himself, actually has gone back to do some audio dramas now too, to kind of help bridge the gap between the two. Um, no one's really sure what happened there. There's some theories, but I don't want to get it because I don't know what's true and what's not. Chris Eccleston just was unhappy with the production and everything else. So I get it. David Tennant wasn't. Matt Smith wasn't. Peter Capaldi wasn't.
Jodie Whittaker.
Jodie Whittaker, thank you, wasn't. Shuti Gatwa is very happy right now. As a matter of
Well,
fact,
holy, doesn't have that many episodes in,
no,
so
no, he doesn't. But
you'd
the
hope
ones
he
he
is.
had were pretty good. I'm pretty happy with what I've seen so far of Shuti. Um, I like the new character. I like the new companion as well. I'm really curious to see the new stuff. I think we're getting it in March. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Actually, by the time this episode airs, we may already have it. Um, but yeah, so I'm gonna get up on my soapbox about Fox. The numbers for America weren't bad. They just weren't what Fox wanted. Fox wanted to, you know, wanted to get this property and have it be this amazing thing and everything else. Doctor Who's a slow burn, dude. It's always been a slow burn. It's faster now, but it's quintessentially English, and you can't remove the Englishness of Doctor Who from Doctor Who, and and you know, it's not it's not Fast and Furious 5006. It's never going to be that. Yeah, you can have some adventure going on, but that's not what the show's about. And I thought Paul McGann threaded the needle admirably. There's several scenes where he and Grace are riding around on a motorcycle and through the streets of what's supposed to be San Francisco but Toronto. There's a gang fight at the opening where the Doctor gets shot. Um, it's just it's really good. You should check it out. But again, it is more like the older Doctor Who, where it is slower paced than the modern iteration. So, but you can go to our YouTube playlist and check it out. It will play on your Fire Stick. So,
And that is why I found it so hard to watch a lot of the old Doctor Who's was because they were so slow paced. I just couldn't keep
yeah.
with them a lot.
Well, I mean, it's the way we got them. We got them in movie format. That's not
Mm-hmm.
originally how they were supposed to be shown. They were supposed to be shown as individual episodes that ended with a slight cliffhanger that added to that storyline.
Mm-hmm.
It was a serial. And when you watch them in a movie format, it kind of gets weird. It's unusual. But it is also it's very dialogue driven. And that's what a lot of people seem to have I don't say problem with, but a hard time wrapping their head around. It's like, okay, we're not firing phasers at the Klingons. We're not we're not running down the trench in the Death Star. we're talking things out with this alien to figure out why it's trying to take over the Earth or whatever planet it's trying to take over. You know, yes, there's some amazing stuff going on, but it's quieter, and I think that's why I like it. Plus, I like a lot of the designs in Doctor Who. They're unusual. Um, so yeah, I can't really fault Paul McGann's portrayal. I liked him, but then again, I've liked every Doctor I've ever seen. They each all have their good and bad points. They're things I like about one Doctor that I don't like about the other. With the exception of Tom Baker, the only thing I don't like about Tom Baker is I want more Tom Baker and I don't have it. Um, but yeah, I don't know. This was great, and it really kind of pissed me off because the reason it took so long for the BBC and the BBC Kimry or the BBC Wales to produce the next Doctor Who is because of the legal fight getting the Fox film made
Hmm.
involved with. They basically had to wait the contract out because Russell T Davies was ready to go by. Actually, he was ready to go before they did the Fox deal. He already had in mind what he wanted to do. And when in 2004, when they finally gave him the go ahead, he was ready to go in a year and had multiple Doctor Who storylines ready to go, locked and loaded. And I'm glad he's back because I'm assuming that Russell T Davies has the same thing. I have not been unhappy with any of the producers of the new series so far. Um, I know a lot of people give crap to Chris Chibnall, but I didn't think he was bad. I just don't think I don't think he knew what he had. Plus he was also dealing with post-pandemic stuff and things like that. So a lot of people are going to give him a lot of crap. A
I
lot of
do. I do. I wasn't a fan, and I don't want to go too far off topic, but I was not a fan of the Jodie Whittaker episodes. I liked her as the Doctor. I didn't like a lot of the writing and a lot of the stories. I just couldn't stay with it.
couldn't stay with it. Okay.
No,
Well, and you may feel that way about the Doctor Who movie as well. It's kind of slow. It harkens back to the old series a little more.
I didn't think Jodie Whittaker's was slow. I just thought the writing was bad.
Like Peter Davison. Yeah, a lot of the Peter Davison episodes, the writing was bad. Now, when they hit, and I will say that with Jodie Whittaker. Some of those episodes are incredible, and some of them are just kind of like, okay,
Well, and I mean, and it's weird because go to Peter Capaldi.
huh,
I didn't like Peter Capaldi as the Doctor at first.
yeah,
He
he's
had to
real gruff.
he had to grow on me, but once he did, I thought the episodes were amazing.
Yeah,
Whereas Jodie Whittaker, I liked her from the very beginning, and I just couldn't stay with the stories. They just weren't that good. There was a few of them that had really good plots surrounding them, but
hmm
overall the writing was just bad, and she had too many companions.
okay.
That
You
was a
didn't like her with
problem.
the three companions.
Too many. Too many.
Yeah, Peter Davison suffered from the same problem. He had a lot of companions, and that,
Well, and the stories for Jodie Whittaker became more about the companions than about her.
yeah, yeah. And honestly, the companion's job is explanatory for
Yes.
the audience. They're the
Yes.
they're the proxy for the audience. Yes, I like some of the storylines with the companions here and there, but I think you're right. I think with Davidson, he had the same problem. It was companion centric, and we're
Hmm.
not there to watch the companions.
Right.
We're there to be the companions.
Yes, the show is not called Doctor Who's Companions.
That's
The
right.
show is Doctor Who.
This is Doctor Who. Now the companions, you get a little bit of this or that, and a lot of companions that complain about that. There's only so many times you could say, "What is it, Doctor?"
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that's kind of where we are. Grace Holloway held her own. I think they cribbed a lot of the Martha Jones character. off of Grace Holloway.
Hmm.
Just kind of some of the ideas, some of her stances, and her being a medical doctor. Just kind of, the Martha Jones character that they brought back for David Tennant is, in a sense, more episodes for Grace Holloway, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then Martha comes into her own a little later on. But I think the first couple of episodes, it's like, oh, they wrote this for Grace Holloway. The other doctor we're going to talk about today is the War Doctor. This is an incarnation of the Doctor, protagonist of the British science fiction television program Doctor Who was portrayed by actor John Hurt. So the War Doctor, not so named within the episode in which he appears, is introduced as the incarnation of the Doctor who fought in the Time War of the show's modern-day backstory. He was created as a result of a conscious decision of the Eighth Doctor, played by Paul McGann, to take up arms and become a warrior. In accepting this duty, the War Doctor disowned the title of Doctor, and after the war's end is viewed with disdain by his subsequent incarnations, who reclaim the title that the character is known by. In the 50th anniversary special, The Day of the Doctor, however, the 11th Doctor, played by Matt Smith, revises his opinion of the incarnation after revisiting the final moments of the war. In the original concept of the show's anniversary special, Moffat had written the 9th Doctor as having ended the Time War. However, he was pretty certain that Chris Eccleston would decline the role, return to the role, which he did. And he also had reservations about making Paul McGann's 8th Doctor the incarnation who had ended the war. He created a never-before-seen past incarnation of the Doctor, which allowed him a freer hand in writing the story, acknowledging that the success of doing this would be predicated on being able to cast an actor with a significant enough profile. So Stephen Moffat calls up John Hurd, explains what's going on, and John Hurd's like, oh yeah, I'm in. This is awesome. And played it admirably and beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
Because the War Doctor is broken. And if you watch that The Night of the Doctor episode, you can see how broken the 9th Doctor really is at the end. And he talks about how he lost Grace. And I'm thinking that she may have died. Like he lost her like he lost Adric. I think Grace may have died, which it's pretty rare for him to. Less rare now, but back in the day, companions didn't die; they just went off. But in a few cases, they actually died, and I want to say that that's what happened to Grace, and it kind of messed him up. So he goes to the Witches of Karn, which harkens back to Tom Baker in the Brain of Morbius episode. But they are very near Gallifrey. And they make this thing called the Elixir of Life, which is the Time Lords used to base their regeneration technology, because Time Lords didn't always regenerate. They occasionally need to get some of the Elixir of Life for their regeneration when it goes wrong. It's like an emergency shot for them. But the Sisters of Karn don't regenerate. They're just ancient, because they drink this Elixir of Life every year or so to keep themselves alive. Which is kind of weird and unusual, and but you really get a feel for that in that Night of the Doctor mini episode, which again I have included. It's rough, but it kind of fits into the 50th anniversary. And you get Paul McGann regenerating into John Hurd. And at the end of the 50th anniversary episode, you see John Hurd regenerate into Chris Eccleston. And it kind of ties it loops the story back in a kind of wibbly wobbly, timey wimey way. But yeah, that's really kind of it for these two guys. There's not a lot of information out there. Not a lot of media out there for them, other than the audio dramas. And I think John Hurd came back and did some audio dramas as well before he passed away, unfortunately, as the War Doctor. But you kind of get to hear the Time War, which I think maybe I think maybe a better way to do that. You know what I mean? I think it works better as an audio drama. Um, but yeah, that's it for the War Doctor and the Ninth Doctor. The
Yeah, so
next
the next one we'll be getting into is where I really started. I
Chris
mean, even
Eccleston.
yeah, even though I watched
I'm sorry, I
some of the
said the
stuff
ninth.
in the yeah, that's
I
all
meant
right.
the
When I watched some of the stuff in the past, Chris Eccleston was really my start into really seriously watching Doctor Who.
Doctor
So
Who.
so that's what we'll be getting into with that. So thank you for another journey down that rabbit hole with the doctors. Do appreciate those. I know we've got
Sure.
fans of that out there.
Oh yeah.
You've done crossovers with Two Geeks and a Microphone on a couple of Doctor shows, so that's
Yeah,
really
I
cool.
think we're probably gonna do a new one. Two geeks and a microphone and three geeky dads, because we were talking about getting together after all the specials had come out, and I think we've all had time to watch them all. So
Cool. I've watched them, so they were really good.
yeah,
Awesome. All right, with that, we will step over to the murdery side of the house.
murder.
For today, I got my information off NBC News, WTHR News, Facebook Disappeared, and News Nation, and this is the case of the disappearance of Denise Flum.
The disappearance of Denise Flum.
So, the fate of Denise Flum, who went missing in 1986, remains unknown. Despite extensive efforts by law enforcement and search teams, no substantial evidence has ever been found to determine what happened to her. Her disappearance is considered suspicious, indicating the likelihood of foul play. 18-year-old Denise Flum had a bright future ahead of her. She was a star athlete, she was a gifted artist, and she was ranked at the top of her class. She had dreams of becoming a scientist. Her mother told Dateline she had everything going for her. If she were here today, she'd be working on a cure for cancer, or, well, maybe even a cure for this coronavirus. She just wanted to help people. High school graduation was just around the corner, and in March of 1986, Denise had already been accepted to Miami University in Ohio, where she planned to major in microbiology. She was hoping to go on a track scholarship. She also played volleyball, basketball, and softball. And she lived at home in Connorsville, Indiana, with her parents, Judy and David, and her younger sister, Jenny, who was a high school sophomore. Prom was just a month away for the Connorsville High School senior, and Denise had already picked out the perfect dress during a weekend trip to Indianapolis. Judy said she talked her dad into taking her when he picked her up from her trip. I remember her being upset because I didn't get a chance to shop for a dress with her. You always think you'll have more time, but you never know. Denise never got to wear that dress to her prom because on March 28, 1986, she vanished. Judy said it was Good Friday, and I remember it being a really beautiful day, warm. Students were off that week for spring break, which meant getting to hang out late with friends and parties. Many of the parties in that area were held on someone's farmland with a bonfire at the center of it all. Denise had recently broken up with her boyfriend of 3 years, and her mother said, quote, she started being more social. She was hanging out with her friends more, dating. So Denise went to a party the night before Good Friday. It was a small gathering, which soon turned into several hundred teenagers. Denise did return home that night, but she forgot her purse. The next day, Denise wanted someone to go back with her back to the party site to look for her purse, but none of her friends could go, and her sister had softball practice and also couldn't go. Judy had said, we're not sure why she didn't want to go alone. She was fearless ever since she was a child, so for her to be uncomfortable to go back to the site of the party is unnerving. Something wasn't right. But Denise did end up getting into her cream colored 1981 Buick Regal and headed out to the party site, but she never made it.
Buick Regal.
According to the family, the tenant of the farmland told them that he never saw her return on that Friday. David Flum told NBC affiliate WTHR in 2018, we do not believe she ever went back to that area. Something or some person interrupted that opportunity to do that. We knew right away something was wrong because she had never been out without our knowledge about where she was going to be. And when the time unfolded in the next day and subsequent next days, then we knew we really had a problem. Judy did tell Dateline she saw her daughter briefly on that Friday. She said, I worked at a bank about a quarter of a mile away from the house, and we got off 3 hours early. We got 3 hours off that Friday for Good Friday from noon to 3, so I was home a little after noon. When Judy got home, Denise told her the plan to go back to the party site to look for her purse. And Judy said that was the last time I ever saw my daughter. And before I went back to work that day, I had a gut feeling something just didn't feel right to me. Not even an hour after Denise left the house, Judy said a distant cousin of Denise's who had gone to school with her returned the purse to Judy at their house. Judy explained that there were no cell phones back then and no way to call Denise and let her know. When Denise didn't return home that evening, her family did report her missing. Judy had said, we thought maybe she had a car accident. We drove all over the county looking to see if her car was in a ditch somewhere. The next day, a farmer from Glenwood, Indiana, reported that Denise's Buick Regal, which was registered to her parents, was abandoned alongside Tower Road, which is a gravel lane east of Glenwood. He said the car had been there since between 12:30 p.m. and 1:15 p.m. the day she went missing, but he told authorities he initially thought it belonged to mushroom hunters. The car, which was locked, was in a rural area near a barn across the county from where Denise's family lived, about 3 miles away from the party site.
Okay, I was about to ask that. Is it near the party site? Okay.
Her family did said there was no reason for her to be in that area. Investigators were puzzled as Denise had no known connections to that area and there were no indications of a struggle at the scene. Since the Flum family did not live within the city limits of Connorsville, Denise's case went from City Police Department to the Fayette County Sheriff's Department. A thorough search was conducted in the surrounding area involving foot, horseback, and aerial search teams, but despite these efforts, no trace of Denise was found. Investigators ruled out the possibility of her running away as she had no history of such behavior and it was out of character for her to leave without informing her parents. Fayette County Sheriff Joey Laughlin told Dateline that they continue to investigate the case and follow up on new leads. Sheriff Laughlin said the case has been a difficult one because any evidence that might have been found on or around Denise's car has been lost or destroyed over the years. Sheriff Laughlin said it's very difficult. We're trying to complete a puzzle where a lot of the pieces are missing. Sheriff Laughlin, who had been the sheriff for about 10 years, was just 7 years old when Denise disappeared. They said the case has been the great mystery of Fayette County for 34 years, but there was constant activity in this case. We haven't given up. The Indiana State Police has also been brought in to investigate. According to State Police Detective Sergeant Scott Jarvis, the agency collected DNA samples from the family, along with a DNA sample from a baby tooth that belonged to Denise, and has been put in the National DNA Database System. The evidence that has been resubmitted to the Indiana State Police Lab to check for any new results, given advances in technology over the years, but those tests did not provide any new clues. Sheriff Laughlin did confirm that there are several persons of interest in the case, but adds there's not enough evidence to charge anyone. He said, we believe more than one person is involved by statements they've made or by their relationship to Denise. Denise's case is also being worked on by someone else. Stacy Reese has made it her mission to find out what happened to Denise. She was only 3 years old when Denise vanished and grew up in the same town. Her mother babysat both Denise and Jenny when they were children. Her father was a volunteer firefighter and assisted in the search parties in the days following Denise's disappearance. Today, Stacy is a police detective in Vincennes County, or maybe that's Vincennes County, but volunteers her services to help the Flum family and become their spokesperson. She said, it's always been a part of my life. If you live in this area, you know about Denise and you know her story. It's part of you. It's part of all of us. And Denise's story is why I became a cop. Stacy has been following every tip and lead since she receives, and in 2018 started a Facebook page, which was called Justice for Denise Flum, to raise awareness in the case. She said the case is solvable. All you need is one person to come forward with the information we need, the missing link that completes this puzzle. She told Dateline she'll continue to fight for justice for Denise and closure for the family, which has become like her own. Judy echoes Stacy's statements and added they are forever grateful for her. She said, "We're so blessed to have her in our lives. She's part of our family, really. She always says I remind her of her late grandmother, and that means a lot. We have a bond, and now she's part of Denise's story." Now in their 70s, Denise's parents told Dateline they are worried they'll never know what happened to their daughter.
Mm.
"Our only hope is keeping her alive, and that one day leads to justice for our girl," Judy told them. More than 3 decades after 18-year-old Denise Flum disappeared from her hometown, a man was arrested and charged with her death. In July 2020, her ex boyfriend, 56-year-old Sean McClung, was arrested and charged with voluntary manslaughter. Sheriff Laughlin said he was arrested on separate charges on defrauding a financial institution and check deception, and we had a warrant for his arrest. So he was incarcerated, and we took the opportunity to speak with him about the case again.
Oh wow, they got him on flying some hot checks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The Fayette County Sheriff's Department announced in a press release that Sean McClung is charged with voluntary manslaughter resulting from the investigation into the death of Denise Flum, and he was once her boyfriend. The couple, who were together for 3 years, had broken up shortly before Denise disappeared. And authorities said that during the initial investigation into Denise's disappearance, McClung had been questioned and claimed she was still alive. Detectives didn't get a chance to fully question McClung in 1986 because he moved to Arizona shortly after Denise disappeared.
Huh.
McClung had a criminal record for domestic violence during this time in Arizona before moving back to Connersville in 2017. And in early 2020, McClung was being held at the Fayetteville County Jail on two pending cases of fraud charge. However, they announced that he had admitted to killing her in March of 1986. Denise's parents were called in and actually faced the suspected killer. They said in a statement, "We were asked to come to the jail that day while he was being interviewed and try to persuade him to tell us the truth." McClung agreed to share information about the case in exchange for immunity and dismissal of two unrelated cases, and the state agreed to this offer. The immunity agreement required McClung to, quote, "not withhold any information regarding Flum's disappearance and to provide information regarding movement and or disposal of her body, including, but not limited to, the location of the body." At the time of the recorded video interview in July of 2020, McClung confessed to killing Flum but did not provide a location of her remains or information that would lead detectives to find her. McClung did not receive immunity from the state since he did not satisfy the agreement, and he was then charged with murder. At a court appearance in early September 2020, Denise's mom remembered when she saw him, his eyes were blank, like he had no soul. And in late September, attorney Judson McMillan was appointed to represent McClung. And during an conversation between the two, McClung denied knowing anything about Flum's whereabouts or circumstances surrounding her alleged death or disappearance, and he recanted his confession and said he only made it to gain his freedom. McClung then passed away later that month after spending about a week at an Indianapolis hospital dealing with an undisclosed illness. The Flum family said, "We are very disappointed that he didn't give us the information we wanted, but are hopeful that his attorney may be authorized to reveal more information after his death." And Sheriff Laughlin then said, "Until we find Denise Flum's remains, the investigation remains open. We want to give the family closure, and we have some things we're going to continue to look into." The lawyer representing McClung said he's working with the Fayette County Prosecutor and Sheriff's Department to release more information and evidence from McClung. Sheriff Laughlin and Detective Chad Blaze believe someone else knows what happened to Denise Flum and continue investigating and asking for any tips. The Sheriff's Office said the Fayette County Prosecutor's Office and Fayette County Sheriff's Department have worked diligently and tirelessly on the Denise Flum case and continue to do so. "We understand that the community takes great interest in the case and care deeply about finding the answers to Denise's disappearance. Our top priority is finding the truth and finally allowing the Flum family to have the answers they have been searching for over 30 years. We continue to be hopeful that we will also be able to find justice for Denise Flum." Foul play is strongly suspected in Denise's disappearance, and police believe she was murdered. Authorities have never recovered Denise's body, and it's unclear whether McClung was in fact involved in her disappearance. And again, her case remains unsolved to this day. Denise has brown hair, brown eyes, stands 5 foot 6 inches tall, and weighs 135 pounds. She was last seen wearing a red Motley Crue t-shirt, blue striped jeans, hip hugger panties, a beige or white bra, and old white sneakers. She was wearing a gold ring with a garnet and a silver class ring with a red setting. The Flum family is offering a $25,000 reward leading to the location of Denise and information leading to the arrest of person or people responsible. The Fayette County Police Department continues to seek information regarding Denise Flum's disappearance. Anyone with information is urged to come forward to possibly bring closure to a case that has left an indelible mark on the hearts of the Connersville residents. If you do have any information on Denise's case, please do call the Fayette County Sheriff's Department at 765 825 1110, extension 604, or the Indiana State Police at 765 778 2121.
If you see something, say something.
And that's the story of the disappearance of Denise Flum.
Well, thank you very much for that. I think they may be right. The kid probably, I think the kid probably, well, he's not a kid now, but I think he probably killed her. But he probably had to have some help hiding her body.
Agreed. Agreed.
And there's somebody out there who knows
Yeah.
something about it, but doesn't want to talk because they don't want to go to prison.
Right. Right. I agree. I think there's someone else out there that definitely knows what happened. There weren't any signs of struggle.
Yeah. I mean, so just to say this, if you didn't help him kill her and all you did was hide the body, imagine you can probably get off with just telling the people where the body is.
Who knows? Who knows? I mean, I think that family deserves closure.
Yes.
I wish they would get
Soon.
closure. I wish someone would come forward. As I said in there, the couple is in their 70s. They are getting much older.
Mhm.
Give a family closure. If you know something, please,
Yeah.
please call one of those two departments and give your information.
Yeah. If you heard a story from your grandpa, tell somebody.
Yeah.
Because it may be the key.
Yep. So that'll take us to the end of another recording week. As always, you can find more information about us and what we talked about today on nerderymurdy.com. That's our website, our hub for everything about this show. We do provide the links for everything we talk about, plus pictures of the topics we cover. Plus, there is a link to our YouTube page, which Zig very often updates.
Yes, so we do have a YouTube playlist for this episode, which this episode will eventually be in, where you can watch, as of now, the whole Doctor Who movie plus the Night of the Doctor short and several scenes from the 50th anniversary.
Outstanding. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
On our website, you can also find the link to our merchandise, or if you wish to show off your nerdery murdery fandom, please do consider going there and purchasing some merchandise. That helps us along with our Patreon, where our patrons do donate to the show. It helps us. It helps with the costs to keep this show on the air. It's not free. So do please consider purchasing some merchandise or becoming one of our patrons.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you. We appreciate each and every one of you. And last but not least, don't forget to leave a 5-star review wherever you can. It helps us and helps others find the topics that we're discussing. So with that,
I have been Zig with your nerdery.
and I'm Geoffrey with your murdery.
Cue the music.